At 41 years old, when most legends are retired, living off trophies they won decades ago, one man is lacing up his boots again. Not for a farewell tour, not for sentiment, not for nostalgia, for a sixth World Cup. No player in history has ever done that. No player in history has ever been built like this. 972 goals, $1 billion empire, a body that science cannot explain. But before the private jets, before the sold-out stadiums, before the billions, he was a child in Madeira, so poor, his mother considered ending his life before it even began. From that boy to the most relentless machine professional football has ever produced. This is not a career. This is an obsession, and it is not over yet.
The greatest story in football history almost never happened, not because of competition, not because of bad luck, not because the world was not ready, but because his own heart tried to stop him. Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro was born on February 5, 1985, on the small island of Madeira, Portugal, a tin roof house for children, a father who loved football but loved the bottle more. There was no money for boots, no money for proper food, some nights, no money at all. His mother, Maria Dolores, worked multiple jobs, just to keep the family breathing. She was so overwhelmed, so desperate, that she once approached a doctor and asked about ending her pregnancy. The doctor refused. That unborn child was Cristiano Ronaldo. Football was not a dream for him. It was an escape, the only door out of a life that had no other exits. He played barefoot on cracked streets. He played until his feet bled. He played when there was nothing else, because there was nothing else. At 12, he left Madeira for Sporting Lisbon's academy, alone, without his family, a child in a strange city, mocked for his island accent, teased for his clothes, laughed at for being different. But he did not go home. He trained harder. Then, at 15, his body betrayed him. During a routine training session, his heart began racing, at a speed it was never supposed to reach. Doctors diagnosed him with tachycardia, a racing heart condition that could stop him from ever playing professional football ever again. For a boy whose entire identity, entire future, entire reason for surviving was the football at his feet, this was not a medical diagnosis. This was a death sentence. He underwent laser heart surgery, a procedure with real risks, a procedure that required complete rest afterward. He was back on the training pitch. Days later, the surgery did not slow him down. It lit a fire inside him that has never gone out. In 2003, a skinny, electric 18-year-old from Sporting Lisbon caught the eye of the greatest manager football has ever seen. Sir Alex Ferguson watched Ronaldo destroy his Manchester United side. In a pre-season friendly, United's players asked Ferguson to sign him. The opponents asked to sign their own destroyer. Ferguson handed him the number 7 shirt, the most iconic shirt in English football history, previously worn by George Best, Eric Cantona, David Beckham. The weight of that number would have buried most teenagers. Ronaldo wore it like a crown, but nobody saw what happened behind closed doors. The English game was brutal. Defenders wanted to break him. Crowds wanted to humiliate him. Teammates were not always kind. He was too flashy, too show-off, too Portuguese. He would stay behind, after every single training session, alone in the dark, practicing free kicks, working on his weaker foot, doing fitness drills, when everyone else had gone home, not because the coaches told him to, because the boy from the tin roof house in Madeira knew one thing that none of his critics did. That talent is just the starting point. Obsession is what takes you the rest of the way.
2009 changed everything, not just for Ronaldo, not just for Real Madrid, for football itself, when Manchester United accepted Real Madrid's offer, $131 million, the most expensive transfer in the history of the sport. The world stopped. This was not a signing. This was a statement. Real Madrid did not just buy a player, they bought an era, and Ronaldo did not just join a club. He walked into the greatest gladiator arena professional sport has ever created, because in Madrid, the shadow of Lionel Messi was everywhere. Shorter, quieter, different, a player built by God, in a completely different factory. And for the next decade, these two men would do something no rivalry in sport had ever done before. They did not just compete, they pulled each other to heights neither could have reached alone. Every Messi hat trick, Ronaldo answered with 4 goals. Every Ballon d'Or Messi won, Ronaldo came back the next year, more obsessed, more shredded, more unstoppable than before. d'Or. Between 2008 and 2017, they shared every single Ballon d'Or between them. 9 consecutive years. 2 men, the rest of the world, left fighting for third place. But here is what nobody talks about. To beat Messi, Ronaldo had to reinvent himself completely. The flashy winger from Manchester, the one who dribbled past 5 men just to prove he could, had to die. In his place rose something far more dangerous, a calculated, clinical, ruthless goal machine. He studied his own body, like a scientist studies a specimen. He hired personal chefs, sleep specialists, cryotherapy experts. He replaced his mattress 5 times until he found the perfect one for muscle recovery. He eliminated alcohol completely. He reduced his body fat to levels that made sports scientists question their own data. At an age when most players begin to slow down, Ronaldo got faster, and then came the Champions League. 4 titles. 4 times the best team on the planet. 2014, 2016, 2017, 2018. In the 2018 final alone, he scored a bicycle kick so perfect, so physically impossible, that the opposing fans stood up and applauded him. The enemy applauding the man trying to destroy them. That had never happened before. But Ronaldo was thinking beyond the pitch, even while dominating it, because he understood something most athletes never do. The legs stop. The brand never has to. So while he was scoring Champions League finals, he was also building CR7 hotels in Madeira, Lisbon, Madrid, New York, a fragrance line that outsells most celebrity perfumes globally, a clothing brand, a museum dedicated to himself that people actually pay to enter. Then came Nike, not a sponsorship, a lifetime contract, rumored at $1 billion. Making him only the second athlete in history after LeBron James to receive one. And then Instagram, 900 million followers, the most followed human being on the entire internet. Not a brand account, not a company, a person. Every post worth between $3 and $4 million in commercial value. He did not just become a billionaire athlete, he became the blueprint for every athlete who came after him, the first footballer to understand that the pitch is where you build the legend, but the brand is where you build the empire.
This is where most stories end. The aging legend, the farewell tour, the slow, graceful fade into retirement and nostalgia. But Cristiano Ronaldo has never read that script. In 2023, when European football quietly celebrated his departure, when pundits wrote their eulogies, and fans prepared their goodbyes, he landed in Saudi Arabia, and then he did what he has always done. When the world counted him out, he scored, and scored, and scored again, not at a reduced level, not with the hunger fading, with the same obsession that drove a barefoot boy through the cracked streets of Madeira 4 decades ago. And now, 2026, the whole world is watching, not to celebrate him, some to finally see him fail. 972 goals. Think about that number for just one moment. Every goalkeeper he has beaten, every defender he has humiliated, every match where he reached into the deepest part of himself and pulled out something the human body was not designed to produce. 972 times. And the number 1000, the most mythical milestone in the history of sport, is right there, waiting, like it was always meant to be his. But the goals, as staggering as they are not the legacy. The legacy is what he proved every single time he stepped onto that pitch. That talent is a gift, but obsession is a choice. That the body has limits, but the mind decides exactly where those limits are. He came from nothing, a tin roof house, a struggling mother, a heart condition that should have ended everything at 15 years old, and he turned all of it, every scar, every doubt, every cruel word, every closed door, into fuel. The 2026 World Cup on American soil is his final stage, the brightest lights in the history of football, shining one last time on the most relentless competitor the sport has ever produced. At 41 years old, a 6th World Cup, something no human being has ever done before, something no human being may ever do again. And long after the final whistle blows, long after the boots are hung up, and the stadiums go quiet, his legacy will not live in the trophies alone, it will live in the teenager who stayed behind after training, when everyone else else went home. It will live in the athlete who replaced talent with obsession, and obsession with results. It will live in every young boy, on every cracked street, in every forgotten corner of this world, who looked at Cristiano Ronaldo and understood, for the very first time, that where you start has absolutely nothing to do with where you finish. He did not just play football, he rewrote what a human being is capable of becoming when they refuse, completely, entirely, permanently, to stop. 1,000 goals, 1 life, 0 excuses. The machine is still running.